You've built the business, clients are coming, maybe inconsistently, maybe not as profitably as you'd like, but you're in it. You're doing it every single day. And somehow, instead of feeling like you've made it, it feels like you're constantly just putting out fires and hustling 24/7. You're working more than you ever planned to, and you're not totally sure what the problem is or even if there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I've had this exact conversation with hundreds of business owners, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I tell them because after mentoring hundreds of women in business, this situation is my bread and butter, getting people out of survival mode and into actually thriving. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on what my coaching conversations really look like, the 3 things that come up almost every single time, and what to do with each of them. So let's get into it. Welcome to Behind the Design, the podcast for ambitious women building a business and life they're truly obsessed with. I'm your host, Olivia Austin, mom of 2, brand strategist, business mentor, and life enthusiast. Since 2017, I've built multiple businesses, supported hundreds of brands, and overcome burnout more times than I can count. What I've learned is that strategy and hustle will only take you so far. It's your habits, mindset, and vision that actually get you to your next level. Each week, I'll take you behind the curated websites and highlight reels to share the truth about what it takes to thrive in business and life. From high-performance habits and mindset to navigating motherhood with more ease to wellness and business strategies, all through a feminine lens, Behind the Design helps you create a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. I'm so happy you're here. Let's dive in. Okay, so like I said in the intro, this conversation that we're about to have is what most of my coaching clients come to me for. And the number one thing that I see from business owners is that you're working 24/7, you have clients are coming in, but you're metaphorically like plugging holes in a sinking ship constantly, and you feel totally capped at your ceiling, at your revenue ceiling. You don't know how to break past the 8K a month, 10K a month, because you genuinely don't have enough time in the day to do anything more. Like you can't bring on another client, or you don't have time to implement the systems or doing all of those things. And this, like I said, is my bread and butter. This is why clients come to me a lot of times, is they're just like, what do I focus on? What am I doing? How do I make more money, but work basically less hours? And yeah, I'm just very good at it because I can like zoom out and see the problem. And while obviously every single business is different, every single person is completely different, these are the main 3 things that come up every single time and that I'm typically coaching and helping on. And I think that this conversation can really, really help you. So the very first thing is you don't know your numbers and you're probably undercharging. And what I mean by know your numbers is not just knowing what you're charging or how many clients are coming in. You need to know exactly your profit margins. So knowing how long things take you and knowing what the cost of you doing it versus somebody else doing it, and knowing that what that whole thing breaks down to. So I see this all the time. You make up numbers because you see that's what other people are doing, or that's how you've always done it. You haven't increased your prices in years, or you're nervous to charge or increase your pricing. And you're working 24/7 to barely make 6 figures. And every month it's like pulling teeth, barely getting there. And what you actually need to do is take a step back and look at your numbers logically. So this is how you do that. Where is your time spent? What are you doing on a daily basis? And what you're going to do with that is you're going to write out a Google Doc for the week, or even put it in your notes app, wherever it's super easy for you to do that, and write out every single thing that you're doing. So that's one step, just so that you know what you as the founder are doing. And the second step is looking at your offer suite and see what makes sense and how much time you're spending in those different areas. So for example, if you are a service provider and you have 3 different offers, so you're offering brand and website design, or branding and then website design separately, How long is it taking you to do those different things? How long are you spending in admin and what does that charge? How much does that cost you? How much are you spending in logo design and creative direction, blah, blah, blah. Like how many hours is that taking you? And then if you have a small team, so if you're outsourcing to a junior designer or an assistant, or you have an admin, what are they charging you to do that? And then what is your hourly rate? And how you find your hourly rate is you take your desired salary divided by the amount of like billable hours that you want to work and billable weeks, and that's how you find out what your salary is. There's obviously more math that goes into that. And I believe I have an episode on this that I'll link in the show notes on how to actually do that. But find your hourly rate, and then under everything that you're doing within that service. So if you're designing the logo, if you're doing the wireframe, like whatever that looks like, putting that hourly next to it. And that's where you're going to find your bare minimum. And what happens when people do this is they realize that they're severely undercharging. So when you take on a client for $1,000, when your bare minimum should be $3,000, that's why you're working 500 hours a week. That's why you're overworking and totally undercharging, and you're unable to get your head above water. So once you know your bare minimum, you're able to filter everything and filter clients and filter projects through that lens of knowing what makes sense to take on. And even if you have a small team, even if you just have 1 to 2 people, you're able to realize like what you can afford, what budget-wise, when it becomes profitable and when it isn't, and then what to charge clients in order to, again, make sure that you are getting paid for what you're worth. So for example, I've had these are just 2 client examples right now. One is she worked through this, was completely undercharging, like to a maximum. I don't even know what to say about this, but like she was severely undercharging. She was working with one month she was working with like 7 clients and made, I think she said like $11,000. And then once we went through this pricing, increased her prices, realized what her bare minimum was, she was able to then hire an assistant, and she literally tripled her revenue to over I think it was like $35,000 a month working with 4 clients. And that's because she understood exactly what she needed to charge, what her worth was, and what made sense. Like these smaller projects didn't make sense for her. It was basically she should have just not even had clients. Because another thing too is like when you have that more time, whether you're delegating, whether you're just having more space to think, that should be used for business development and business growth. So when you get 5 to 10 hours a week back, that should then pour back into marketing, visibility, getting more clients, and using that time more valuably as the CEO and the founder wearing that hat. Marketing should not really ever take the back burner, and a lot of times it does. And that's why you're constantly trying in this hamster wheel of like being too busy, not focusing on marketing, not being busy, focusing on marketing. So, and that really all comes down to knowing your numbers and realizing whether or not you're undercharging. So that is my very first thing, because I always am looking at numbers with clients, whether you should be like just increasing your pricing, and then also knowing your numbers allows you then to hire, and whether it's, just someone 5 to 10 hours a week. I have a one-to-one coaching client right now who was literally, I'm not even joking, like this is an actual thing that happened. In January, she was working like 80 hours a week, making $12,000 a month in revenue. That's not her salary. In May, this is this year, she is making $65,000 over the next few months because she literally did exactly what I'm telling you. She stopped undercharging. We've hired 3 people, which have taken off an extensive workload for her, which now she can pour back into getting clients and business development, and is absolutely skyrocketing. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that goes into that, but genuinely, it started with knowing her numbers and realizing how severely she was undercharging. She was able to pitch her new prices to her existing clients. A few left, but it was fine because she was making it up with the less amount of clients. And the other thing too with that is now she's able to pour more into those clients to get them better results, to make them more of a lifetime client. So if you have, smaller clients that are not getting results because they don't want to pay, they're not doing the right thing, you're not pouring as much into them, and they're not getting as much results, and they don't turn into a lifetime client. So just something to think about there. Another quick side tangent that I've been seeing often as far as like numbers go, and then we'll go into something else, is extending payment plans for way too long. This is like so tactical, but this is really important, is especially if you're wanting to grow a team and like just get more money in the door. Getting paid now is better than getting paid later. So even if you're like, oh, I'm still getting the money, like you want to get more money in the door now. The payment plans should never extend longer than the service that you're providing. Obviously, there's going to be some exceptions. Like I definitely have some exceptions in my business, but for the most part, everyone should have a more condensed payment plan. For some reason, this conversation keeps coming up and people are telling me they're extending like 9, 12-month payment plans. And I just don't think that's a good idea. So just using that little side tangent. Real quick, if you're someone who's been listening to this and thinking, okay, but how do I actually make this work around my life? I made something for you. It's a free workbook called 6 Figures, Part-Time Hours, The Ambitious Founder's Guide to Building Without Burnout. For the last 3 years, I've worked 3 days a week running 2 businesses that make multiple 6 figures per year separately, and this work is the exact framework that makes this possible. You'll get hyper clear on what's holding you back, where to focus, and what your exact next steps are to remove overwhelm and start to thrive in business and life. It's completely free. Check out the link in the show notes to download it now. Okay, back to the episode. Okay, the second thing is that I see often is that you don't know where to focus. And I go back and forth between this being number 1 or number 2, but I felt like the pricing just like was more tactical and just had to be, talked about first. But knowing where to focus, this is another conversation that I'm constantly holding people accountable for. And it goes back to last week's episode, is that you're doing too much. So you're either like, you're just going through the day-to-day floundering. Either you have too much time and you're filling it with things that don't actually matter and are not moving the needle, or you have too little time because you're a mom, you have limited childcare, you're working in between nap times, you're working on just like 15, 20 hours a week, and those like little pockets of time that you have. Been there, I am there. So you need to know what to focus on. So if you're like, Olivia, how do I know what to focus on? I'm going to tell you. You need to choose 1 to 2 things to focus on per quarter. And it needs to be what is actually going to move the needle forward. So in order to know this, I guess there's like a first part to this, which is like getting very clear on your vision. So you have to know what you're working towards. So for example, I had a coaching call yesterday, and her goal right now is just getting in more clients. She's had like a very good first 5 months of the year. She wants to continue on that momentum. So how can we continue on that momentum? Visibility. So marketing is her number 1 thing that she's focusing on over the next 3 months. And the thing is if she can focus so heavily on that one thing for 3 months, there is potential for her to be booked out for the rest of the year and feel really, really good and hit her goals for the year if she can double down and focus versus trying to do all different things. You want to find just 1 to 2 things and just be ruthless in doing that, and know like what can you do every single day to do that. So whether, let's say it's visibility, like I said, like getting more clients is number 1 that a lot of people want. So if getting more clients is your number 1 goal for the next 3 months. Then your template shop that you want to create is going to have to wait. The new podcast that you want to start, that is just going to have to wait. I'm not saying you have to wait till next year, but maybe wait until Q3 if visibility and marketing is what you need to focus on now. And knowing that and being owning that discernment is what's going to get you ahead and is the difference between where you are now and where you want to go is extreme hyper focus, especially if you're a mom. So if you ever sit down at your desk and you're like, what should I be focusing on today? You need to just have that one thing, like your North Star. And that's what you do every single day before you start literally anything. So what I'm constantly telling people to do is do like the hard thing first. So let's say, again, visibility is your number one. Then what can you do for the first 10, 20, 30 minutes of every single day that's going to get you that next client? Is it pitching past clients? Is it pitching a new service to past clients? Is it, pitching new clients? Is it sending out an email? Is it creating a piece of content? Is it posting on Pinterest? Like there's something that you could posting on your Instagram story. Like there's something that you could be doing every single day. And if you are that hyper focused and you know what to focus on, it's going to get you so much further than trying to do all of the things. But in order to do that, you need to know like where to focus and what your top priority is. So I would look at, if you have all of these goals for 2026 and you're just feeling behind, you're like, I don't know what to do. Like I feel behind, I'm already in Q2, then look at all of your goals and be realistic. If the summer you have limited childcare because kids aren't in school, then what's one thing that you can focus on over the next 2 months? And what can you table to the next quarter? And this is also going to be a daily practice. This is not going to come naturally to you, especially if you typically have a to-do list of 100 things, then this is not going to be something that's easy for you to do. But just staying as focused as possible is, again, the difference between where you are now and where you want to go. Oh, and I just remembered, I actually have something that can help you. So I have the Part-Time CEO workbook where I share it's basically like a walkthrough of how to make 6 figures working part-time. And it's totally free. It's a guide and you could go through and it'll kind of help you decipher your North Star and what your goals are for the year, for, the next 3 years, 5 years. And then I also have a workbook. It's a paid resource. It's only $27 though, called the Focus Filter. And it literally, again, walks you through every single thing, helps you get clear on your vision and creating that North Star for the next year, 3 years, 5 years. And if you're really struggling with where to focus, highly recommend doing that. This is what I do often. And like I said, it's not going to be, you might fall off. That's totally fine. Just hop back on, get clear, try to stay as focused as possible. One thing too that that comes up often is with my coaching clients is you're constantly answering emails, and that is also throwing you off. So that's my other recommendation is to stop answering emails. Pick just 1 to 2 times per day that you are answering emails and then go from there. Take control of your calendar, take control of your to-do list, and don't make your to-do list so long. Again, you're doing too much, just remove things. If you have 2 to 3 things on your list to do throughout the day, that is exactly what that's perfectly fine. It doesn't need to be 10 miles long. And then also making sure that what you're doing is getting you to that, next level goal. And if your to-do list, if you're listening to this, you're like, I'm so floundering, I'm so busy with client work, I'm so busy in my business. You need to be writing a list of everything that you're doing, like I said, and where can you outsource, where can you delegate, where can you send to the team? Yes, sometimes it is easier for you to do it, or it feels easier for you to do it. But at the end of the day, your focus should be on business development, high-level strategy. And it doesn't need to be constantly in the business and executing. So where can you delegate? Where can you lean on your team? that is also going to be another really big thing and allow you to focus on what's actually moving the needle. Okay. And the third thing is limiting beliefs and subconscious stories that you're telling yourself. And I love this topic. And this is really like a lot that I do want to start bringing more into this podcast, because strategy can only get you so far. When your mindset and how you show up for yourself, how you talk to yourself, your subconscious beliefs, your programming is what is going to get you to that next step, is what's going to allow you to elevate. But if your mindset is keeping you stuck, it's keeping you playing small, there's only so much that you can do. And it's a daily practice to control your mindset, to elevate it, to just tune into who you are and who you want to become without holding yourself back. Because realistically, like, we are the only ones that are holding ourselves back. Nobody else is doing it to us. It's us and our mindset. So what you could do is elevate your mindset and rewire your limiting beliefs to get yourself to the next level. And my favorite way to do this is through visualization. And this is something that I do every single day. And I have a few different practices for this. I have a journal, and I know I've mentioned this many times on the podcast before, but my favorite quote is, "Your goals are a place to come from, not a place to get to." So when you are able to make decisions from your future self, from your higher self, whatever you want to call it, that becomes a decision filter to everything else that you would do. So for example, like, I'll be like, next level Olivia would never. She would never not take a walk or take a break in the middle of the day. She would never not meditate in the morning. She would never not like get up and get out of her pajamas and work, like whatever it might be. That becomes like, when you can start showing up for who you want to be now, you're literally going to collapse time and quantum leap to that next level. Okay, I'm getting so woo-woo, but you know what I mean. So the visualization, that practice is like, I will literally write out my day as if it's already happened. So for example, I'm in a podcast studio today. Like, this morning I wrote like, oh, I just like had an amazing, interview. It got 100,000 downloads, like blah, blah, blah. Like, my sponsors for my podcast, la, 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 la. Like, literally wrote down every single thing from my future self and what I'm creating as if it's already happened. So that's my journaling practice. I also have a Pinterest board that I just will like scroll through if I don't have a ton of time, or like I could tell that my mindset is like not great. I'll scroll through like my Pinterest board that has just pictures of my future life, the life that I'm excited to have, and like things that I'm working towards. That is like a quick and easy way to just like get into the mindset if you're like, okay, I don't have enough time to like journal or anything. And then my third favorite way is through Activations app. And I know I've shared about this before, but it's seriously so amazing. It's all of these like affirmations, and it's not so much like meditating, but you can just listen to them, whether you're on a walk, whether you're driving, like whatever it is. And they're as short as like, some of them are like 3 minutes all the way up to like, you can listen to them while you're sleeping. I'll link that in the show notes, but that is just my favorite thing to do. And one thing that I'm tell a lot of my coaching clients is like habit stacking that. So like, very first thing in the morning, you're journaling, you're doing your visualization, and then you're doing your one thing. So let's say it's visibility. You journal, you do that, and then you do your one thing, which is reaching out to past clients, becoming visible, like pitching new clients, whatever it is, and you're habit stacking that. And that just becomes your daily ritual. Like, you just wake up, you do those two things, and then you move on with your day and you do everything else that you need to do. And that practice alone will change your life. Like, I am sitting here today, 1 year later, like May last year, I was like 3-4 months postpartum and was totally floundering, and my life is completely different now, and it has everything to do with like mindset and visualization. I think I've shared with you guys that like everything that was on my vision board last year came true, even so much as like getting a sauna and going to Italy. Like, it was literally unhinged, and I did all of it. And what came from that visualization practice and the mindset and like tapping into myself and my limiting beliefs. So that's like one really easy way. If you're like, I don't know where to start, like start there. I also have a free resource. I'll link it in the show notes called The Upgraded You. It's totally free. It basically like walks you through like where you are now, where you want to be. And then it spits out, I made it in Claude. It was very fun. It spits out like affirmations, personalized visualization, and then like a 6-month roadmap to your upgraded you. So I'll link that in the show notes. It's totally free. Another thing that is good to do, but this takes a little bit more time and honestly is harder, is rewriting your limiting stories. So rewriting those limiting beliefs. And the client that I was telling you that went from like $11K or $12K a month to like $60,000 a month. This was huge for her because she would be like spiraling about creating something for a client or a client doing something or whatever. And it was just stories that she was telling herself. The client never said that they weren't happy. They never said they weren't happy with the results, like whatever. She just was so far in her head. So writing out all of your limiting beliefs, like I could never charge that much, or, I'm not good enough, or I need more practice before I do XYZ. Those are just stories that are keeping you small and that are that are keeping you where you're at, when in reality, they're not true. So for example, like I need more experience before I charge more. No, all of the experience that I've had up until now is proof that what I do actually works or whatever. But rewriting that story or that limiting belief and just constantly shifting that and becoming aware. Now, this is going to be a daily practice, and I don't want you to overcomplicate it. Like if you're not doing any sort of like limiting belief, mindset shifting or anything like that, and all of a sudden you're gonna be like, I'm gonna journal every single day for 30 minutes, you're not. You're just not. And I'm speaking from experience because I'm the same way. Like some mornings, like my kids wake up at 5:30 and I don't feel like journaling. So then I'll just do a 4-minute activations app. Just make it as easy as possible for you. Maybe you start doing it in the shower or driving, or you go on like a 10-minute walk and you're able to do it, whatever that looks like. Just make it as easy as possible, but just start, whether it's visualization or it's rewriting those limiting beliefs, or honestly, even just becoming aware of them and writing them down, or just saying like, no, that's not it. Like we're gonna restart. So those are the main 3 things. So if you feel like you are constantly working and still not where you want to be, those are the 3 things I want you to do. I want you to know your numbers because you're probably undercharging. I want you to know where to focus. So like get hyper clear on where you want to go and focus on the next 3 months on 1 to 2 things to get there. If you need help discerning that, like send me a DM on Instagram and I will help you. And then the third thing is rewiring limiting beliefs and just shifting your mindset in general. Okay, I hope you found this podcast episode helpful. And I just want you to know that where you are now, like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I have been exactly where you're at. I've helped lots of other women in business do the same thing to get out of working constantly and plugging holes metaphorically in a sinking ship. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just looking in and digging a little bit deeper and knowing that everything that you want is already there. So I hope you like this episode and I'll see you next week.